Hi, my name is Henn C.P.A. C.T.R. and I wanted to show you this episode or a clip from a recent tax resolution office hours call in which I was talking about attending the recent IRS tax forum for 2024 and the updates to the individual tax account, the business tax online account, as well as the tax pro online account. This was some information that I think is helpful for all practitioners, and the IRS has said they want us to share all of this information so that more practitioners can use these tools to help make their lives easier and the lives of their clients easier. So I hope you enjoy this and let me know what you think. The uh, the IRS tax forum. So I was there, and both Gwen and Wayne are here, and they both were. I saw them. They came to the Orlando Tax Forum. Now Wayne came all the way from New York, and Gwen and I are locals, and ended up coming. And what I wanted to talk about, I'm going to try and talk about this over the next few weeks. Some different classes and information that they presented that I think that is important for everybody to know and understand. The thing that I wanted to cover was the Tax Pro account. Now, I'm using these slides and I'm using the images. These are actually, obviously, this particular session was a session put on by the IRS. These were actually people who are in charge of these various areas, and I'm going to cover a little bit about the Tax Pro account, the individual online account, and then the business online account. Those are the three main areas. And I'm going to talk about what they talked about, how it looks if you haven't used it yet, and actually, based on my experience, some of the things that I've seen in regards to it. And then I have one slide at the end about what they have as the upcoming type of things. In fact, to add extra stuff to it, I'm also on the federal tax committee at the FICPA, the Florida Institute of CPAs here. And I was talking about it yesterday. We had our committee meeting yesterday, and somehow it was I actually brought up the topic about these, because we have a magazine that we write articles for, and our committee is usually responsible for two or three over the course of the year in writing. And I said, hey, what about this? This is a big thing. This is kind of the wave of the future. The IRS wants us to even talk about it. And so I basically talked myself into writing an article on this particular topic. So, like, I needed something else to do, but hey, once I get that article, obviously I will share this with you guys, and actually probably also share it with the rest of the people on my list. But let's start with the Tax Pro account. Now, if you didn't know, you can now request a CAF number. You can initiate a power of attorney, tax information authorization. You can allow taxpayers to view and revoke their authorizations. So you can actually do the authorization and they can do it. You can actually revoke yourself, or I should say, really use the word withdraw. Remember, technically, revoke and withdraw are synonymous terms. Taxpayers revoke, we withdraw. That's really the difference. But they're pretty much the same thing. You can link your CAF number, and if you have more than one CAF number, you can link more than one CAF. That's what they said. You can view refund and audit status for individuals, view payment activities, and making bank account payments, or at least that's some of the stuff that's coming in the future. Now, the you can request the directly here a power of attorney. Now, what I found, and here's some things that I want you guys to pay particular close attention to this, because I just found this out since this is the first time I've done it since I just taught the power of attorney third-party authorizations class a few before I went to the IRS tax form. And so having this experience, you need to know a few things. What is the name that your client has on their online account? Okay, so for example, my client's name was, Joe R. Smith. So he's got that in his account. You need to have Joe R. Smith if that's how he spells, if how he does his name. If he does Joseph R. Smith, then it needs to be Joseph R. Smith. Now, second thing is the two key things. Yeah, I know, Gene. It was just it's kind of weird, but you have to have it based on how they have it in their account. So that's the first thing. Second thing, really all you're doing is you're inputting their name, you're inputting their social security number. So obviously make sure the social security number is input correctly, and then their mailing address, and that is also key. Now, what they suggested is you look at the most recently filed return and or a notice that they may have received. So however the address shows up on that notice is how you need to input that address in the Tax Pro account because it does some kind of matching. How we use the check word system for the CPE, and we tell you, all letters, there's no special characters, all letters are lowercase because the system we have matches up those characters. And so what they told me is that matters. So if there's a suite or apartment number, or there's the zip code or something specific about the way they input the street name and number, it matches all of those things up. And if it doesn't align up, it won't. If you don't input the information correctly, your client never sees it in their account. So there's nothing for them to approve, say, hey, it was done wrong, their address was wrong, whatever. Because that's what I usually do when I would do a paper one. I would say, hey, make sure you review this, make sure that we've input stuff correctly. Because occasionally you'll come across one where you left off the apartment number, you've transposed the address, or we put 36 when it should have been 76th Street or something of that nature. And this is where it matters because it took me 3 times to input this for this guy to finally have him get in there and approve it. So yeah, Gene, you have a question?
Where does it go when you put the wrong one in? Did Joe
It doesn't
Smith
it doesn't
get
go
there?
anywhere.
Oh, because it's social and
It's
the names
only
don't
on your
match.
side.
Okay, it bounces.
And so
Now,
so what you have to do is you have to actually cancel it and then redo it.
okay, all right.
So I had, like I said, I had to do it 3 times in order for it to work for me. And then finally it did, and I finally got an email notification that said, "Hey, you've got new activity in your online account." And then I went in there and found that I had it and it was all active and I could look at, everything that I needed to see. So that was great. Now, one drawback is that you you can see summary information from your Tax Pro account. To actually see the transcripts, you actually have to go to TDS. So when it says here down here, if you can see here on the bottom of the screen, it says transcript delivery system. So to actually see the transcripts, you have to go in there to actually access it. Otherwise, you can see kind of the summary stuff. So for those of you that use something like I do, like IRS Solutions, Canopy, Pitbull, there's a screen where it'll give you the summary and, by year what they owe. And so this does the same thing when you go in here. So like if you go into click here and view your taxpayers, then it will give you the list of everybody. And then you can just see the kind of the summary information. Okay, so similar to this, when you see this information here on this Rachel Green that they've put on the screen, that she owes $9,977. These are over 2 years. Sorry, the images didn't really come through when I tried to copy them here. They just didn't blow up well. So this is how this works. Now you can also, as I said, link your CAF number. So you go through, there's a button down here that says here, link your CAF number. When you click that, it opens up this window, and then you go through this process. Now the only drawback to this process is it's sort of a manual process. So you click this link, you input your CAF information, and then it mails you a paper letter with a code on it. So then you come back and you click this other link, and that's what does the connection. So if you've ever done EFTPS, if you've ever done e-services, when you create your new account for the first time, that's the exact same thing. They mail you a letter. When I did mine, I got my letter. I think it was like 8 days from when I did it, so it wasn't terribly long. But just go and do it so you can get it linked. And like I said, you're supposed to be able to link more than one CAF number to this if you have that. Now, normally the IRS, I was told by some stakeholder liaisons that they frown upon us having multiple CAF numbers, but there are many practitioners out there that I've met that they will have multiple CAF numbers if they have multiple offices. Karen, I know you're here and you had a situation where you left an employer and the employer started using the CAF number and playing you. And so there's another situation where you cancel that CAF number and then you go and get a new CAF number to start with. That happened to Jason too when he left the firm that he originally worked for. So it's easy when there's another man, or in your case, another woman in the office, and they basically play you because they know all your information. They can verify, anything in terms of, getting through all the features in terms of your social, your date of birth, and all that, kind of stuff, because obviously you worked for them. Then here is and then you can actually view what authorizations you have. So this one they show here all of the different forms. So this showing different 2848s that were in place. And when you click that link, it takes you to another page that you then click a box to withdraw. And I've had a problem with mine in that I've been able to do that on most of the people I want to withdraw from, but there's a few that somehow they're still in my CAF assigned to my CAF number, but when I go to withdraw, it pops up an error message. Which, having said that, I do, when I was at the IRS conference, I did get an email for the person who is in charge of this particular area of the Tax Pro account. She asked me to email her, that information to her. But if any of you, whether you're here live listening to this or you're hearing it on the recording later, and if you have a feature or something that you would like to see the Tax Pro, the individual, the business account online, to be able to see, have access to, feel free to send that to me and I'll be happy to compile those and send them off to her. I promised her that I would not disclose her email address nor, inundate her with a ton of email. But I would like to periodically, if there's something that I think of, or because they're actively looking for ways to find features and things that they can do. Because I heard from more than one IRS employee that they say that the IRS internally is paperless, at least from one exam person. Yeah, Gene, I had that kind of look on my face too when I heard that. There was a revenue agent who spoke from I think he was in the Maitland office in Orlando, and he actually said that they're paperless, so they want to get as much as they can electronically. So they either sending it via fax. They do have secure messaging that you can do. There was one class that I sat in, which I thought was pretty cool, and I'll share that with you guys on another week, and how you can try to submit information electronically. And then they have the document upload tool, the DUT as they call it. So there's many ways that you can try to, do this communication with the IRS electronically. And I think if you don't have a Tax Pro account, if you don't have the ID.me, you got to go and get that and start using these accounts and start to get familiar with it, because the IRS, as I'll show you here on the next on another slide, they're really being aggressive and spending a lot of this Inflation Reduction Act money on improving these particular areas. Now, when it comes to the individual side here, it says you can get secure access to individual accounts, pay taxes, resolve issues, stay tax compliant, authorize tax professionals, understand tax obligations, track account status, and sign up for email alerts. And so when you look at the individual side, these are all the different areas that they were referring to, that you can actually go in and make a payment. They can set up, or here it says create or revise a short or long-term payment plan. Obviously viewing tax records. It shows all these different things that you can look at. And my client, he actually kept sending me the screenshots. So now I have these screenshots that I'm going to try and start incorporating a little bit into my uh, the third-party authorizations class, because this is very important for people to understand how they can access this. And so, they're here talking about adding, a lien payoff calculator to access and or get an IP pin, prompt user to update address when undeliverable, and integrated refund tracking, view my audit status, enhanced transcript integration. So all of this is stuff that's supposed to be done through the individual online aspect. And then lastly, we have the business tax account. Now, one thing that when this first rolled out, this was late last year, late in 23. There was very limited access. It only worked for 1120s, 1120s, and 1065. They have said since that you now can look at self-employed businesses as well. So secure access to business account information, view transcripts, notices, letters, ability to view business balance and pay taxes, manage top tax obligations to ensure voluntary compliance. So if you can see and look at this, it looks very similar as I just showed you on the individual side. You can actually make payments here and have it come from the bank account, and you can access records. So, and obviously these were uh, transcripts. Um, and so I thought this was kind of interesting that you can see there. And then I had a couple of more slides here that they said here in terms of, so you can see here, this says here sole proprietor, and here you can actually designate employees to be a part of your business that they can access the information. Now, again, this is on the business side. One of the things that they're supposed to be looking at, for those of you that aren't aware, in your e-services account, you can actually add employees and add employees to your e-services account. And what that does is it allows them to be able to go through and uh, do certain things in terms of, I forget what it was exactly, but I had this done with one of my employees. This was me on my last firm, so I was added as this extra person. You can designate kind of like the authority that they have in regards to certain things. So I believe that is something that they're supposed to be working on the Tax Pro side, that you can connect your employees to your account as well in some form or fashion. So this was kind of interesting. Now, one thing that this is one thing that I'm looking for is that in terms of the notices, it says here, view select notices and letters online. Now it says select notices. It doesn't mean all notice. It would be nice, and hopefully one day they'll get there with all notices. But hopefully you can see here it says view notice, and I haven't tried this myself to look and see if when you open this notice, is this the actual notice that would have been mailed to the taxpayer? So it's similar to if you've ever done the 2553, or actually, no, not the 2050, the SS4, and gotten applied for an EIN, you've done it online, you've done their using their wizard. When you're done, they actually have a link or a button that you click, and it actually opens up the letter, and it's the letter that you would get in the mail. Exactly, it looks exactly like an IRS letter, and it's got the client's name and everything, and it'll have the EIN listed on there. It's actually pretty cool. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to have this. This will make our jobs easier once we can get, because we're supposed to be, once we get power of attorney, to be able to see these notices in the future. I don't believe that's something that's there just yet for us. So we'll see how that plays out. So when it looks like this here, what's next? I already showed you this, actually, this slide here, that you're going to request. You can request a CAF number. Initiate power of attorney tax information for business taxpayers. Right now, you can only do it for individuals in the Tax Pro account. Allow taxpayers to review and revoke authorizations. Link and manage CAF access for tax professionals working for tax professional businesses. So if you have an EA, CPA, somebody that You can, give them access to your account through your account. View refunds and audit status, view payment activity, make bank account payments. Now, for me personally, I don't do the bank, I don't make payments for or on behalf of clients. I just don't want that responsibility or that risk in regard to something going wrong or sideways. Obviously, if you do, that's completely up to you. It's just for me that's I chose not to do that. I even when I could use it in my tax software. Now, for the individual online account, they're going to be adding mobile-friendly forms, in-app notification. Most notices letters are digital, and obviously access multilingual media for those that need that. Advanced clean vehicle credit amounts, information return documents. I'm assuming that means the wage and income transcript type stuff. Now, I don't know I didn't actually think to ask if that means that the information return documents that they're going to be able to see them sooner than what we would normally see when wage and income transcripts actually start posting. So for I've seen them as early as late May and as late as July. And this year it was like the very beginning of June that they started populating for 23. So it would be great if that information starts populating sooner so that at least once it gets recorded, then it pops up in their account somehow connected to their social. Checking the status of an amended return, status tracking notifications I'm assuming in regards to the amended and a regular return, and tax compliance. Now, this is obviously not a great thing for us, but the offer and compromise check, the pre-qualifier tool, submission and payment related to an offer and compromise, so they can do all of these things. So if you want to help them with that, I don't know if that's something that's going to be available in a Tax Pro account that we can do that for them if we have power of attorney. And maybe there would be a way that we can send it to them that they can obviously e-sign it and then submit that. Create pre-assessed plans, tax compliance report, withholding compliance, self-correction, and cause and cure for balance due. And then when it comes to the business tax account, providing access to more business types. So right now it's very limited in terms of what can be accessed. Add payment methods, including federal tax deposits. So this would be nice from a business perspective. So then here's the approve, reject a POA or TIA. So that's the flip side of the Tax Pro account. And digital communications, chatbot, secure messaging, store multiple bank accounts, Spanish language availability. Now, as a side note, as I just had this happen with a client, I was trying to get him to create his own individual account so that I could do the electronic power of attorney. And he ended up coming back to me and said he just didn't like the big brother of it, and those were his words. So he didn't go through the process and do the individual account online. But it's funny. I know many of you probably have heard these kind of questions. People don't want to put the bank information on their 1040s for refund information. And usually they say because they don't want the IRS to know their bank information. And it's like, well, if you get a document, if you get a 1099, any number of things, they know your information. There's very few ways. I mean, it takes them a little bit more work in order to find it in some cases if that's never been done. But why people do that, it's like they have the ways to find out and find it and get it. Why they would choose to do that unless they, intend to not pay their taxes and try to keep them at bay. But as technology improves, that just becomes easier and easier as time goes on. So, having said that, I think there's a few of you, Tara, I'm going to get to your question coming back later. And let's see here. So, Wayne asks, will they eventually link it to TDS? I don't know. I mean, it would be nice that if it was similar to this. So like on the business tax, you can click this button that says get transcripts. You can even do that on the individual side because I've done that on my own. I don't, that's the Tax Pro. We didn't hear. So, um, it doesn't actually say here. It says view information on most recently filed tax return, economic and access transcript. So on the individual side, you can do that. And I know you can access the transcripts there because, like I said, I've done that before in regard to that. So, I mean, I'm hoping that it'll be something similar that they can do for us without having to go into, log into TDS, because then when you go into TDS, you got to start inputting all the information all over again, as far as I'm concerned. Um, so Wayne says, one agent told me that not all departments allow for the document upload tool. For example, I mailed in an audit reconsideration, but I haven't received confirmation that they received it. Additionally, I spoke with ACS and they don't see any evidence that the package was even received. Yeah, so one, there is when you mail or fax in anything. So if you send the original CP 2000 or the 3219 and you fax that in, or you mail it in, there is no acknowledgement. That's one of my frustrations out of that whole process. But I'll show you guys probably next week the document upload tool area. It was in one of the sessions that I sat in, and I think it was on the collections notices one, and they talked about how to access that. And I thought it was pretty cool, and that it looks like I mean I'm almost tempted to have a client because you're there's a multiple ways of doing it. One, if you're actually working with a profession with a specific IRS employee, they have I don't know if it's a 4 or 6 digit code that they give you that when you input that, it somehow connects it to them. And yes, not all areas of the IRS are using it just yet, but they will be. This is something that they were touting, they were very proud of, and so I expect that you'll be able to do more submissions like that. And at least I think in if you use the document upload tool in regards to the CP 2000, because it is an option to do it, that and if you want to, maybe email me later on that way, and I can show you and send you the link on how to access that if you wanted to try and do that with your particular client. So yeah, and that's I mean, you got a very frustrating situation, so I told that. Um, and you said you heard that they're looking to make info returns like 1099s by February. Well, I mean, obviously that would be the goal. By February or March, because they right now, I think if you electronically do them, the date is different. So that might be the only situation. Wayne says, do you think there will be less need for us tax professionals working on tax resolution cases? Um, I'm going to say yes and no. I'm going to say yes, there'll be less of a need for us tax professionals on the easier, simpler cases. So if they contact the IRS points them to the individual online account, the online payment agreement tool like you used this past week. Some of those smaller, easier cases that we might take for smaller dollar amounts, which is, big bang for the buck. I mean, I think you mentioned your online payment agreement tool that you use was I think it took you an hour or less. I did one, what was it, last year that took me an hour to do, and that was including communicating with the client in regards to that. And I got paid $500 for that. So, I mean, I'll take $500 an hour all day long. So, and um, let's see. And then Wayne says it's for a payment plan reconsideration, not audit. I sent my own letter with a self-addressed stamped envelope. All I need to do is mail me a confirm that they received it. Yeah, so 15 minutes setting up the OPA, and my particular account or situation was where it needed the what do you call it, the direct deposit information. So I actually had to call my client. So it took me a little bit longer to get through that process. So you're saying that you asked your client for, or you were trying to set up a payment plan for your client and they rejected it. Is that what you're saying in that regard? Okay. Um, Yeah, so that might be something you might want to consider looking at an appeal in regard to that particular situation if they rejected it. That might help you. So, okay, so hopefully thank you, and hopefully you enjoyed this little clip, and hopefully this will be helpful for you to use in your tax practice. I would encourage you to start using your Tax Pro online account, encourage your clients to start using the individual tax online account, as well as you using both the individual and business online accounts for your clients, as well as yourself. These, I think, will helpfully make your practice more efficient in using technology, and it will actually give you a cleaner lifestyle in terms of the things that you do and deal with. So if you have any further questions, feel free to go out to taxresolutionacademy.com, to our website, or you feel free to email me directly at support@taxresolutionacademy.com, and I would love to hear from you. So with that, until next time, have a great day.